Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hello, good afternoon. Happy October. It's the first almost 10 days of October. So I welcome you to this fall day, wherever you're at in the world. If you're listening live, welcome. We love to have you here. You have reached my podcast, which is Balanced Life with me, your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle. I am conversations that connect to a healthier you. And we do a live show. I do a live show so you can become part of the conversation live as well. So in order to do that, if you're listening, there's a couple of ways. One, and the most preferable way, if you're watching and listening, is that you call in and get involved with myself and my guest. And the phone number here is area code 323-524-2599. Again, if you're driving, don't do it, but otherwise write this down, 323-524-2599. At any point during the show, and we're going to have a great discussion today that is for both men and women of a certain age, once you're in a relationship or have been in a relationship or are looking to get into a relationship, things will apply to you. You might have a question, you might have a comment, you might have a story you want to share. So get involved. The other way is you can always go to the comment section of my YouTube channel, which is streaming live right there, or my Facebook page, which we are trying to load up on right now, and ask a question, make a comment. If I don't see it during the show to answer your question live, then we can always do it after post-show. So I'm conversations that keep on going and going. I have conversations with people from shows that I did years ago. So just log in, chime in anytime you feel motivated to do that. So before we get to what our show is about today and to my distinguished guest, I want to tell you a little bit about myself for maybe new listeners. So I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and a health and nutrition coach. And it's my job which I love and I'm passionate about. I find finding purpose in your life is everything. And so it's sort of my purpose and my pleasure to help people create balance in their lives. So there's food that feeds us, and then there's everything else that needs to come together in alignment in order for us to feel fulfilled, to find the joy, to create longevity with quality, and live a long, healthy, happy life. So I know that sounds very cliche and very like, yeah. But really, you'll be surprised by changing one thing starts snowball effect to other things that can change in your life in such a positive way that if something is down on out of balance, whatever it may be in your health, in your finances, in your environment, in your relationship, when you work with someone, and everybody, even the goats of the world, need coaches to get in alignment, to get better, to find what they might be missing, you'll be surprised how things start coming together and start going up and how much better you feel. And when you feel good, you look good, you create space around you to be kind to other people, and most importantly, you find joy in your life, which I think love and joy, we're all sort of striving for that. So I do free consultations, and all you have to do is go to my website, and that is balancedlifebydebbie, DEBI.com. And there is all kinds of information about me. You'll see what I'm doing. I know there's a lot of stuff going on now on Instagram and a lot of things being thrown at you with influencers on how they have the answer to how you should be exercising at a specific age, or what you should be eating at a certain age, and how to save your bones, and how to keep yourself from losing bone and muscle mass as you get older. Well, I can get rid of all that noise and help you, because I individualize when I work with people. I do workshops and I do have online programs, but I meet you where you're at the moment. And what I find is most of my clients one-on-one are women that are perimenopause, in menopause, post-menopause, and are dealing with all the issues that we have to deal with, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you name it. I help you step by step, like I said earlier, build up to that one snowball effect where one thing leads to another. For instance, if there's a diet, which is always a difficult thing for most of my clients, is not in sync with what your body needs to be its best self, that's where we dig in. When you get your diet in sync, it's amazing how your body wants to move. When you start moving and your diet's in sync, it's amazing how your hair, your skin, your sense of energy and joy and wanting to go out and do fun things changes. So you get out of your head, you get out of things that can cause depression when you start being good to yourself. So just hit that. Again, I'll have a consultation button, answer a few questions. I'll get back to you to set a time for us to have a Zoom call, and we'll get you going. Even if it's just that one meet and greet, I can get you going in just a few simple steps, and we'll see if there's anything further we can do together. So there you have what I do, and the podcast is in addition to everything else I do, and I feature guests that are in the health and wellness space, and I have one of those guests today, and he happens to be a returning guest of mine, and I believe we're at 7 or 8 shows together, and he's written several books. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce him. So I'm very excited to welcome back Dr. Stephan Poulter to discuss his newest book, Modern Masculinity, a compassionate guidebook to men's mental health. Dr. Stephan Poulter, Ph.D., is a renowned Los Angeles-based clinical psychologist in private practice with over 30 years of experience. Dr. Poulter brings a fresh and original perspective as a former law enforcement officer, seminary graduate, psychologist, father, and author to some of the timeless questions of families, parents, fathers, mothers, marriage, divorce, and emotional shame may be coming at you with. He is the author of The Shame Factor, The Art of Successful Failure, Your X Factor, The Mother Factor, The Father Factor, and Father Your Son. So I am honored to have him back on my show, making, like I said, I had 7 or 8 appearances on my show. Please welcome the renowned Dr. Stephan Poulter to the show. There you are. Hi, Stephan. Hi.
Very kind. That is a incredible introduction. Thank you.
Well, it's, I said this in my show 2 weeks ago. I do 2 shows bi-monthly. I do 2 shows. And 2 weeks ago, I had a show, and my guest who was here in studio with me, she's like, who is that person? That, I don't think people give themselves enough credit until they hear back everything they're about and everything they've done to really accept everything that the introduction has to say about you, because it's all true. And I'm sure there's more that I didn't even say.
We're good. You covered a lot, Debbie.
And I know you well.
Yes.
In full disclosure, Dr. Poulter was my clinical psychologist for several years after I went through my seemed like a very lingering divorce and all of the issues that come with that, as anybody who's gone through it or had a parent, family member go through it knows the issues that you go through. And your X Factor, your book, was so helpful to me, which is why I sought you out, and you became my therapist. Basically, you became my psychologist. So I am really indebted to you. You've helped me through a lot of things. I hear the little Stephan voice in the back of my head often, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am for those little voices that help me get through different moments in my life. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. Being a former client, I come on your show because I want to support you and empower what we talked about, the X Factor, how to get over heartbreak and build a better life. Because the X Factor isn't about whether you stay married or not. The book's written, you're divorced now. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it in a way in which you don't torch the earth, your life, your family's life, your ex's life? It's a way to move forward and not let go of resentment or anger, because anger over time will turn into resentment, which turns into contempt. And once we get to contempt, it cannibalizes us. And that's part of why I've written Modern Masculinity, because this book deals with men and their anger. People talk about anger management, which we'll get into. It's really shame management, Debbie, not anger management.
Yeah.
When you don't feel good about yourself, you're angry. And when someone hits that button here, you go off.
Right.
That's anger management. But I want to go back to nothing. What you're talking about health a minute ago.
Yes.
Your physical health is your mental health. Your mental health is your relationship health and your emotional health. All four, it's a 360 view. They're all related.
It's a big soup that has to they all have to meld together in order for there to be.
They're not sanctioned off or sectioned off like we talk about. And with the X Factor, that's part of your emotional and relational self. And dealing with that kept your body healthy.
Yeah.
Because so often there's been studies done on men going through a traumatic heartbreak. There'll be 1,000 heart attacks in this country today with men over age 30. Of that 1,000, 900 die. Of that 900, 90% had no pre-existing health problems, but they did have relationship issues.
And so they created the health problems within. I believe in that so much. I mean,
we used to frown when we talk about psychosomatic. It's not psychosomatic. It's causality. It's causality. So what you're talking about with your food, having someone eating better, that starts a domino effect.
Yes, that's what.
Because when you eat better, you feel better. Your emotions feel better. It's a circle. It's a 360.
I agree so much. And for what you do, and I've said this often on the show, I think the world would be a kinder, gentler place in terms of, anger causes people to do terrible things. And it becomes very toxic that's why our jails throughout the world are so populated with people that are committing crimes, because if you really start dialing back, it starts with something in their childhood. They're not taking care of themselves. So they're eating poorly. They may not be moving correctly. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're in this dark space and they all start getting into dark things that put them at risk, and it puts us at risk, puts the rest of the population at risk. I've always felt like if people from the beginning could just start taking care of themselves. But you're right, to take care of yourself, it really goes back to how are you raised, what traumas have you had in your childhood that would be causing you to abuse yourself, to have bad self-care.
Debbie, it's usually, people don't think abuse. It's more neglect.
Neglect
over time becomes abuse. It doesn't start off that way. It's subtle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No one starts at obesity. No. You don't just one day wake up, oh my God, I'm 100 pounds overweight. No, it's neglect over time.
So is it neglect? Dangerous. Is it neglect because you're...
you're just not, maybe not in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of guys in prison are angry. The father factor, had an absent father.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
Okay. An absent father for young men is bad, not good. Mentors, male mentors for guys, can't do it enough, guys. If you're coaching, people, young men, you're doing a good job. Young men need older men to say, hey, come on, stay on the road, bring it back, you know.
Right, to guide them in the right
Yeah, yeah,
direction, for
exactly.
sure.
Like
I
how
mean,
to deal with
if
it.
we look at, and you know this, and I think I've even talked to you about this before, but if you look at some of our mass shootings in this country, at least, and you go back to what their living conditions, or some of them are kids, but what their childhood was like, you can see that most of them were fatherless, or fathers were absentee. And they, and right there,
Yeah.
without that guidance, without that feeling of worth
Mhm.
by somebody who you admire, who's guiding you and loving you and giving you all, pushing you in the right directions, they're misguided. They're often
Well,
running.
I don't know if they're misguided. I don't think they realize they're misguided.
But
They
they
just don't.
end up, a
Yeah,
lot of them
they
end
don't
up
feel.
in
They don't feel.
gangs. I
I
mean,
understand.
let's think
Debbie,
about what all our smash and grabs today. Where's that?
yeah,
What are these young kids
Debbie,
doing?
let's come back. We're getting too far out there. Okay,
Okay.
we're getting way too out there. Okay,
So I get so mad. Like, where do those people come from? Why?
okay. It's not. There's not a simple answer, but there's a
Yeah.
simple answer.
Okay.
The brotherhood needs to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
Men need to get involved with men.
Yeah.
Okay, we know a dangerous guy. We know him, like who he is, and if he's doing crazy stuff, it's incumbent upon us to talk to him. Now, he may not listen, but that's not true. 90% of the time, people do. And everybody wants three things they want in life: to feel understood,
Mm-hmm.
seen, and accepted. Seen, I see you. You're important to me. Understood, I understand your perspective. And I accept our differences. You give that to young men, they're not acting out as much. I'm not saying they're not going to act out some, but not to the extent, where it becomes really self-destructive.
Right. Criminal.
And that's right. In modern masculinity, I talk about men need men. The the sisterhood gets that. Women, Mother and Me, book clubs, wine clubs, get together, the sisterhood, they get that. Women are way ahead of the curve on that one. You have a lot of women friends, Debbie. I know you do.
Yeah, I do, and I have book clubs, and all of that.
Right.
And those are what we lean on. We lean on that as a
Exactly.
grown up. I used to have Girl Scouts when I was younger, but
Right.
now I have these other groups and clubs, and a
See-
lot of my clients are playing cards with other like-minded women, and
Yep.
they're playing
And
bridge.
there's support in that.
Yeah, lots of it.
Women need to see women through the eyes of a woman, not through the eyes of a man. A woman needs to see femininity through the eyes of a woman,
Hmm.
as does a man needs to see masculinity through the eyes of a man.
Meaning they need a good role model. They need a
Well,
good.
no, it is a role model, but to be around men, like-minded men, and to have that support as a group. That's why gangs are so powerful. The concept is good. The application's not.
No, that's
The
true.
the intention is good. We're a team. We're in this together. There's a lot of good gangs out there. Like AA has a lot of male groups, and they stick together and they help serve each other in the community.
Yes.
And different groups like that, Debbie. But my book gets into, we'll get to relationships in a minute, because that's kind of like the heartbeat
Of the book. Yeah.
of the. It's a really heartbeat for men. And women know this. Guys want a relationship as much as a woman does, but we just don't talk about it the way, or we're not as upfront about it as women are. And I talk about in the book 5 variables for a good marriage for guys.
Ooh, what are those? I want to hear each one of
The
them.
5 variables, okay? And the first thing starts off with the issues you have in your marriage predate your partner, usually by about 20 years. Those issues were pre-existing. Your partner's just triggering it. She's a new face to an old issue.
with with their mothers or
Debbie, it's, I don't want to just lock into a mother.
Okay.
It could be a sister. It could be a traumatic family.
Teacher.
I mean, I've had people where one parent shot the other parent in front of them.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so intimacy is really scary. Like,
yes.
There's a lot of
Of stuff. Oh my God, that's drastic.
But Freud was right. The mother factor for women is very important, and for men, it's very important because the first step, number one, is how to unplug from your triggers. I tell guys, you got to know what sets you off. You got to know what it is and own it. It's not right or wrong. A lot of times people say, well, he disrespects me. And that comes from a place of feeling like you're not seen.
Mm-hmm.
You're not noticed. And that's a big one for a lot of guys.
Is that the guy feels that he's disrespecting his partner because he feels unseen.
Correct.
Yeah. And
another big one is the imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Like intimacy, your partner's going to see through you. They're going to see it all. Good, bad, and indifferent. And a lot of men, it's not that they can't commit to a woman. They're scared because she's going to see it all. And their experience is, if you see it all, you're not going to love me.
Oh, right. They're going to be rejected. Yeah.
Exactly. If women could sit in my office or hear what men say about intimacy, they'd be shocked.
I want to be a fly on the wall.
Because the imposter syndrome is huge. Another one, Debbie, is feeling isolated. A lot of men feel isolated emotionally. They're professionally good. They've got work friends, but in their private life, they feel isolated. And then they lean too much on their partner.
Right.
And then she feels overwhelmed. This is kind of stuff, unplugging your triggers.
Are you saying that they're leaning on their partner to make them more social because the partner makes the plans, or Debbie,
I was going to say even bigger. Like that's their only relationship, and that relationship needs to meet all their needs, which is impossible.
Oh yeah, I know men like that.
Yeah, and that's unplugging your triggers. What is your triggers? And I'm going to read them off real quick, Debbie. It's all has to do with the shame factor. Anger and hostility is one. The imposter syndrome, feelings of isolation, suspicious and a lack of trust of authority. And that gets back to forgiving our fathers and our parents, being able to trust them again and forgiving them. And a fear of intimacy gets to self-acceptance. Those are the big ones.
So go ahead. Keep going.
The last one is embarrassment, fear of embarrassment. And that's being vulnerable. And we'll get to that one. It's probably the biggest, believe it or not, of all seven, is embarrassment is probably the most common of all of them.
I bet. And getting into each one of those five things, I mean, I guess it's the how do you overcome? How do you make the change that you need?
We're going to talk about it.
Okay. Good. That's what. Well, so when you talk about toxic masculinity, or that's what these five are sort of under that heading.
Okay, I don't use that word.
Okay.
Because it's so overused, it loses its meaning.
Yes.
Like what is it's undeveloped masculine. It's immature. It's narcissistic. If it's immature, the guy's immature, his relationships are going to be very problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if he's self-centered to such an extent, his relationships are going to be problematic. Those two get referred to as toxic probably 99% of the time. Right. But when really underneath it, it's immaturity is a big one. Immature emotionally. And they may be good professionally, but emotionally, they're a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
And they have the ability to handle issues emotionally like a 15-year-old. And then they lash out and they're very aggressive. Like a teenager.
Right. Because they're suppressing whatever, because they don't want to get to that embarrassment phase. So they're suppressing emotions that, being transparent would be a much better way to go, and being vulnerable. And being vulnerable is really tough. I know that.
Okay. 70% of all divorces, Jonathan Gutman did this research, I think 2 years ago. They interviewed 4,400 women who filed for divorce. Of that group, 30% got divorced for weird, like violence stuff.
Affairs.
The 70%, was a lack of emotional intimacy and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
That was 70% of the reasons for divorce. Not infidelity, not money, not work, none of that. It was a lack of emotional connection. And I tell guys, that's why you learning to be vulnerable with your buddies is so important for your partner, with your partner, with hers, because you've got to learn how to do it.
And
get
it's
comfortable with
like
it.
you've got to get comfortable. So it's like anything else. You just start doing the work, basically.
Something that's right on. And in the book, I talk about doing the work. The first one is unplugging. What like someone say, well, he had anger management issues. I think, no, he has other issues. It comes out as anger, but it's really not anger. That's a secondary emotion. Primary is, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I feel defective.
Right.
I can't provide. And then, Debbie, the second one, I tell men, one, know you're unplugged from your triggers. Number two, what's your relationship style? How do you operate in an intimate relationship? Do you run hot and cold? Do you get warm? Do you back off? I tell guys all the time, what's your style? Is it avoidant or is it secure where your partner feels safe? You create a safe environment. And understanding your relationship style helps you to know yourself better so you don't do the stuff that doesn't work.
Right. Because then your partner is going to start taking steps back when they start to feel like you're not, they're not. I know this happened in my marriage. I started to feel unprotected. I started to feel like somebody didn't have my back. And even though I was with my ex-husband for a very long time, we were together 34 years, there was a good portion and towards the end, which led to our divorce, where I felt and forget about our intimate relationship, but even though it affected that eventually, I started to feel, and he sensed that I was feeling that, but somehow I was getting blamed for feeling that. He wasn't owning up, should I say. He didn't know how to deal with the part of not being able to provide for or to make me feel secure emotionally, physically. And it all started to accumulate to a point where, it blew up. It literally blew up.
So, Debbie, what you just said, I tell men, when in doubt, ask this question: where's my responsibility? Where am I responsible in this? Your partner's going to love you. When you say, okay, what's my responsibility in this? It's not, what's my, a good marriage is a tennis game. You've got your side of the court, Debbie, 100% of your 50. I have 100% of my 50. What's my responsibility on my side of the court? And I tell guys, you start asking that, what am I doing to make this worse? What can I do to make it better?
Right.
And that takes a lot of them.
And that's big. I almost feel like a man, and I'm being very general about this, which isn't fair, but I almost feel like a man can't ask that question or do that on his own. He needs someone like you, a starter, somebody to make him critically think about that. And I don't know, I'm talking from experience in girlfriends, and things that I know from, and I've been around a long time. So that's all I'm saying. I just don't see a man taking it on himself unless he's reading your book and wants to make the changes, because it is a guide. It's a self, guidebook, right?
We all learn stuff as we go, as we evolve. I have women in my practice that don't take responsibility, as I do men. It's not it's a people issue, not a gender issue. It's a people issue.
I would see that.
A lot. Yeah. And I tell people, let's get away from genders, because it gets sideways real quick. But your point's well taken. A lot of men learn to take responsibility because that's what they saw, that they grew up with it. You can learn this stuff. You become the father you never had. That was my first book, Father Your Son.
Yes.
You should have been father your kids, because it applies to daughters. But become the father you never had.
Yes.
Like, be responsible.
I do see that this day and age. We both have millennial kids, and
I can tell you, the younger men, these guys, this is how the book got published.
Yeah.
I had to go for a panel, and the women under 35 all raised, and we got to do this book. My husband goes to therapy, and his buddies think he's weird, but they're over 40.
Right.
The guys under 40 love it and want his therapist's name.
Yeah.
Because guys, no, they've got to do the work.
They see it. They don't want to be their fathers, and they don't want to. They don't want
Right
their
on.
kids to feel the way they felt growing up. So they know they need to change or make a
Debbie,
change.
spot on. I say that money is no longer privileged. Men and money are no longer privileged. There's equality in both.
Yeah, that's
And
yeah.
it's no longer
Okay.
privileged. I got a lot of guys because they are really successful where we live, Debbie, make huge dollar amounts. And I say, okay, that's great, but you're emotionally bankrupt.
Yeah, which is
Your relationship bankrupt, and nobody likes you.
I've
Okay,
seen
so where
that.
are you winning? Where are you winning?
right.
You're like,
Well,
right.
because a lot of, you know what, I want to get into that. We're going to take a really quick break for just a second, but I want to get into that because men do find, and I had this again, and I hate to use myself as an example, but that's what I know.
Okay.
And I know this comes out in your book, in using their job as their self-worth. And
Okay, we're
not
going to get right. That is cancerous for men.
and I see it, and it didn't just happen in my
Debbie?
marriage, but as you know, it's a big part of my breakup, and it's a big part of why I started to feel like, because, we'll get into it, but I started to
Yeah.
feel like, okay, I'm no longer being protected because his self-worth started going down when his jobs changed. Anyways, we're going to take a really quick break.
Good.
We'll be right back in 1 minute. Come right back with us. Cicera Olio de Oliva is an extra virgin olive oil company with a mission to provide high-quality, current-season Italian oils to families. They have partnered with 2 centuries-old family farms in the Tuscany region of Italy to grow, harvest, and bottle their amazing oils. Founded by a nutritionist who has a love of the land, sustainability, nutritious foods, and of course, Italy, they strive for a peak freshness and high nutritional content in every single bottle. All of their oils are current season, extra virgin olive oil, bringing you a true branch to bottle experience, and I know firsthand. So, for an offer, go to www.cesarioliva.com and enter Balanced Life 10 for 10% off. I know you're going to love this healthy and delicious addition to just about any meal. All right, we're back. Thank you. And I hope if you are joining us live today, you can call us. And the number here is area code 323-524-2599. And we are talking about modern masculinity. And with Dr. Stephan Poulter, who is a renowned author and clinical psychologist. And we are digging into his latest book. And
Yes.
right before that we went to break, we started talking about men finding their worth in their work and not realizing that isn't where you
dead-end
look.
street.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to hit a block,
Debbie, since the Industrial Revolution, before you were judged by how good of a farmer and how good your family operated, but then we migrated to the city where you were judged by other men by your job, your position, and your wealth. That's 1/4 of your life. That's not all 4 pieces. And that's the old masculine model. The John Wayne syndrome. That model doesn't hold now.
But if their fathers kind of grew up with that model, and then that's what they grew up with because their fathers are emulating what they learned from their father, it sort of goes down the line.
I agree.
But
change, regardless of how we're raised, for the most part, I said for the most part, we have to make a decision. It's a choice. Do I want to change? Do I want to deal with the discomfort of change or stay in this malaise? Usually when we get sick of the malaise is when we make the change.
Right.
It's like, all right, comfort zone's here. And when our discomfort exceeds this, that's when we change.
Yeah. You've got to make it something.
So number 3, I know you're going to scream when you hear this one. Every guy, I tell him, you have to leave home. You got to leave the mothership. You've got to cut the umbilical emotional cord with your mother.
Oh,
You
yeah.
cannot get married and
Marry your mother.
have your wife. Yeah. Worse, have your wife become a mother replacement.
Right.
your mother's still your mother. Your wife's just warming her seat. Is
Why do
not
guys
good.
do that? Are they looking for what's familiar to them? Do they not want to part with what maybe felt secure? Why do?
There's Debbie, I love you. I know you love men, and
Yes, yes, I
yeah,
do.
I know you do,
All
and
men.
I appreciate your perspective. And well, it, yeah, promoting this book, I've had more fastballs thrown at my head about men. I'm like, okay, I can't speak for the whole race, but let me do my best. Two things happen. One, the mother won't let go of the son.
Oh, yeah, we see that in
That's a
Jewish
big one.
families. I'm a
And Debbie, we see it across the board.
yeah.
I mean, it all cultures are guilty.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Okay,
sure.
mom won't let go, and see the problem with a young boy, got kudos if you're a good boy and made your mom happy. That works about age 12. After age 12, you start to have your own opinion, and that's going to upset mom sometimes. So there's this internal conflict with men, where a daughter doesn't have to separate from her mom the way a man does, because she has to identify with the nurturing, whether it's there or not. But that's why so many men have a hard time leaving their mom, because they feel guilty
Yes.
and they can't tolerate her disappointment. They say it's hurt, it's disappointment. But every guy has got to become emotionally independent. He's got to be a freestanding tree
Mm-hmm.
in order to be able to have a significant relationship with a woman, or whatever their orientation may be. You've got to unplug from the mothership and then come back as an individual freestanding man. That is adulthood.
And that
That's adult.
can be very difficult to achieve, and that's why people like you exist and write books that you write to
Jay,
help them
it's like,
guide them.
it's a lot of guys. Why do so many kids from the West go east to start to break the chain,
Mm-hmm.
the cord with parents? And why do so many boys go east? And same with daughters, when breaking the cord from their family. More the mother factor too. But every guy, that's number three. I always tell women, has he unplugged from his mother yet? We talk to her every day. Okay, but has he unplugged? There's a difference. You know. Okay, number
Yeah.
four, Debbie, is emotional boundaries. I mean, emotional boundaries is the ability to know where you stop and start, and the ability to say no. And there's a theory: until you learn how to say no, you don't know how to say yes. Your
Oh,
yeses
that makes
are
sense.
default. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's people pleasing and codependence, because you're afraid to say no because you want them to like you. And that goes back to number three, where if you dealt unplugged from your mother, you've learned to like yourself. That's how you do it. You may not like all the parts of you, but it's good enough. Emotional boundaries is the ability to say no. And that doesn't mean you're a jerk. It just means you're not a doormat.
Right.
And a lot of women are conditioned, unfortunately, to be a doormat, and then they end up resenting their partners, and rightfully so, because it was very hard for they're never taught how to say no.
So you're talking
Or
about
give them
the man is
both.
never taught how to say
Both.
no. Both ways.
Both.
Yeah.
I tell you,
Well,
this
and
is-
women we're overdoers, right? We take on a lot of stuff. We're
Nurturers,
mothers, we're nurturers, we run a household. I'm talking in general. Not everything is like that, but not everyone is like that. But we're running a household. We're sometimes very involved outside with the school stuff, the sports. In my case, I was a dance mom as well. And yet I was also working. So, and why was I doing all these things? Because I said yes to everything because I wanted to be liked. And that's why I asked you, are we just talking about men? Because I know I was a yes man. And it overwhelms you to do that,
Debbie,
because
at the end of the day, it blows the relationship up.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And I tell men, learning how to say no isn't your partner's going to respect you.
Yes.
And then it allows you to understand her better, or whatever your partner is, understand them better. Because you say, okay, I don't want to do that. What are you thinking? And you're not trying to, you hit the ball over the net. You're not trying to control how they hit it back.
Right.
The ability to say, no, I'm hitting it over, you're going to do what you want with it.
We're back on the
That's
tennis court, aren't we?
you have
I
to, yeah.
can,
And that
I
leads
can
to
see that.
number five, emotional sobriety.
Okay.
Emotional blackouts are 92% of all murders in this country. The 8% are strangers. 92% of people that get murdered in this country this year know the suspect, whether an ex-lover, ex-wife, ex-boyfriend,
Not
family member.
surprised. Yeah.
92%. This is from the National Institute of Health, not the FBI.
Right.
I read this, Debbie, in 2018 with a shame factor, and I've checked it every year since.
It
It
hasn't
doesn't.
changed. It
No, it
hasn't
hasn't gone down.
changed.
In
Wow.
fact, I think it went up a little bit more during the shutdown because emotional rage. I've had a client, something happened in the marriage, and they were both at that level. If there'd been a gun in the house, someone's dead.
Yeah.
Someone's dead. And by the grace of God, there wasn't. We're not talking about guns, pro or con, but I'm just saying that level
Right.
of
But
emotional
that
intensity,
makes it where, like you said, emotional blackout. You're so
right.
intense, you're blacked out, and you do
Bad
something
decisions.
without thinking, without
Yep.
the anger is so. I mean, we've all know what that anger feels like, where you want to punch
Yes.
you punch something through a wall or
Exactly.
whatever,
You
throw
know,
something
and,
across the room. We've all felt it,
and
and
people
if
say road rage.
yeah,
The problem
same.
is you got that rage. Now you have a dangerous weapon called a 2,000-pound metal object called a car.
Right. Right. Or
Road rage is just it's the same as having a gun. Okay, road rage is just equally as dangerous.
right. It makes it too easy to take
Uh,
that emotional blackout and
okay,
feed
and this
upon
goes
it.
back, Debbie. So these 5 issues: knowing your triggers, unplugging from them. Number 2, what's your style in relationships? How do you handle intimacy? Number 3, you've got to cut the emotional bill cord with your mother.
Hmm.
And number 4, emotional boundaries. How to say no. Simply, how do you say no in a loving way? And that doesn't mean you blow the relationship. How do you say no? And number 5, emotional sobriety. You go from reaction to responding. And part of that, Debbie, is I tell people, if you say to your partner, "You make me feel angry," no, they can't make you feel anything.
You're in
You're angry,
charge of your feelings.
right? When you're taking responsibility for your feelings, it's very hard to black out.
Hmm.
If you're blaming your partner for your feelings, I tell guys, you're in trouble. Forget it. Go out of the house. Take a break. Nothing good's gonna happen.
What causes someone to? I'm sure we've touched on it in other ways, but what
Yeah.
causes someone to blame? Because I lived in a blame game home, and
Yeah.
what causes somebody to do that? Blame, not never turn around and look at themselves.
Right. It's a personality style.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, also it's a relationship style. But the word narcissist gets
Hmm.
overused. But I'm gonna use another word. It's very self-centered.
Hmm. Same.
It, yeah. And I tell people that for some reason that makes more sense. Like,
Yeah.
okay, self-centered. And Debbie, I find with people who cannot apologize,
Hmm.
I go, okay, you have to learn how to do that because it's not your partner's not 100% responsible for your actions. It's impossible. You
Right.
got to own your side of the court. And
Right.
that's why, Debbie, a lot of parents, all these books on narcissistic parenting, where the kid's an extension of the parent, that kid gets in adulthood. Their first challenge in my office, okay, we got to learn how to say no. Because otherwise, you're a puppet, and then you get enraged.
Yeah. And then
And
the
then you
blame
blame.
game starts. Yep.
Right on. Debbie,
Yeah.
you beat me. That's step 3.
Yeah.
Blame game.
Hmm.
I've never found a guy that blames his wife who isn't angry at his mother. Oh, boy.
Oh, well, that's
I
what was
just jumped.
going on.
I just jumped in the deep end here. I feel
Right.
very comfortable with you. You know
The
I'm a
light
little more,
bulb went off in my head. I can imagine our listeners' heads,
yeah. Okay,
But
Debbie,
yeah.
I haven't had a guy in my office. Yeah, his mom doesn't matter. She's living here, or has passed away. She is alive in here. Okay, the woman inside of you is much more problematic than the woman outside of you. Okay, I tell that to guys because you're carrying
Interesting.
that picture when you're 15 years old. Well, that was 35 years ago. It no longer applies. But Debbie, I've never found a guy who blames his wife for all this stuff who is not enraged with his mother.
Interesting.
Haven't I? Okay, yeah, I'm sure there's one out there, but I haven't met him.
Yeah. No,
And and I take. And that's right.
I
I tell
see this, and
yeah,
I'm talking
take
personal
responsibility.
experience, but wow, that helps put things in perspective for me. Really.
And I tell guys, you can forgive your mom even though she's passed away, and forgiving your mom that's important. And it's humanizing her. It really helps.
Yeah, it does. Because otherwise it's trauma that you're taking on that somatically, you would need to heal from, because something's going to eat you up from the inside out if you don't forgive.
Yeah, you're so right on. So many men do not make the mind-body connection. Women are better because they have babies. Women really intuit if they have babies or not. They know. Their period's coming. Like, if I want to have children, I want to do this. Like, they're really ahead of the curve there.
Right.
Okay. So what you just said to me, how it spills into their body. Rage, the adrenaline makes nuclear energy look like water. Adrenaline just eats through tissue, organs,
so
muscles.
So when you're saying emotional sobriety, I think you called it. What did you say? Yeah. So how do you achieve that? What do you have to do? Because we're down to the last few minutes. I want to hear what that is.
We don't talk about it very often, but I tell guys, you got to forgive your mother. The doorway to change goes through forgiveness. And forgiveness isn't religious. That is a spiritual thing. Personal. So they manifest that. They meditate on that. They work on that. They write it out. Okay. It's in the book.
All right. You've got the guide right there. Gotcha. Okay.
Any guy who's learned how to forgive his mother, he's going to be a much better partner because he's happier.
Yes. Okay.
He's more content. And his partner, she doesn't feel that insidious energy
that he's taken on into the marriage, into his relationships.
Right.
Interesting.
Heals that wound.
And I can see that. I think forgiveness can heal a lot,
It can do a lot.
Yeah.
I tell guys, if you're working on forgiveness, you're not going to miss much.
Yeah. And you're giving them the tools to do that. That's the key, is having the tools to forgive, because you can say it, but if you don't know the applications, that's what your expertise is, to help them apply and do it. Their life will change,
Absolutely. And David, I want to thank you for having me on your show. I know there's a lot of women out there, and you're with a partner who may not talk to you. I tell women, ask him what would make him feel safe emotionally.
That's a great question. That could throw anybody, no matter where their head is at.
Bingo.
Yeah, it puts them very much in that space, in that moment, in the here and now. Wow.
What would make you feel safe, honey? What would make you feel safe?
Wow.
Just think about it. And they'll go, well, tell me, when your mom used to get angry, what did it look like for you? You're not playing psychologist. You're playing, what you're being is a partner who wants to be present and have a safe relationship.
Right.
And Debbie, when women feel safe, that's golden.
Well, then that's golden. And then you have,
and when the guys
a jewel of a marriage.
Right. Then the guys, but it takes work.
Mm-hmm.
A good relationship takes work in a good way, because you got to do your own work to bring it to the relationship.
Right. Well, isn't your wife lucky that that you've got all the...
I never watched the show. Yeah. Though I'm sometimes a cactus, and, we all get a little edgy.
You get a little prickly. Yeah. Well, but that's right. Well, that's part of a relationship, is allowing your partner to have their space to be able to, go off not rage necessarily, but to have their prickliness.
I say to guys, you come in the house and you meet your girlfriend, your wife, and it just goes, ugh. Okay, let's do a reboot. Let's do a retake here. And it's okay, honey, let's start over again. Hi, it's really good to see you today. You know what I mean?
So literally tell them to turn around, walk back out, and walk back in.
I did that this morning. I got okay, let's do this again. Hi, how are you today?
That's so smart. But that takes a certain kind of wherewithal, training, expertise
Debbie,
to
and I don't
know
want to,
that,
something,
you know.
it keeps my peace of mind.
It's good.
I know when I'm off. And if I'm off, she's going to be off
That's right.
because she feels it.
Of course.
And also, we do reboots. Like, okay, let me start over again. Okay,
I
or
think
so,
my marriage would have been so much better if we rebooted half the time. Even just half the time, not all the time, but just half. But we never did. We had the resentment or the rage or whatever it was, and we didn't start over. We didn't.
Well, you're doing it now in your relationships. You will.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of great tools. And Debbie, I thank you for what you do and having me on your show. It's such a blessing.
Well, I thank you. Let's tell the audience how they can get a hold of this book. It's on Audible. I'm here to tell you that. And it's on Amazon, and it is, you can go to your website too and get all of your books if you want.
Yes.
It's Modern Masculinity, a compassionate guidebook to men's mental health by Dr. Stephan Poulter. And this is a self-guide. It will guide you into everything that we were just talking about to give you the tools. Why wouldn't you want to have this relationship that could be so ideal, especially if you know there are things that are, blocking you? This could take care of it.
This isn't a self-help book. This is a toolbox.
A toolbox. Yes.
I'm handing you a toolbox. And I don't know how to use tools. Okay, let's learn. But I'm handing you a toolbox.
It's amazing. It's so great. And I think women could probably do,
90% of this women, it's both genders.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all through the book, I had a woman write the forward.
Oh, you did? Okay.
A woman and a buddy of mine, because guys have to realize 90% of women want us to succeed.
Of course.
We're worried about our sons, our brothers, we want them to win. I tell guys, women are not against this. You are the problem and the solution.
Wow. And you're just giving them the tools that they need to
here's your toolbox.
Get out of that problem. And God, wouldn't the world be a better place if they all
Debbie, well, we're doing it
did
one
your
person
book.
at a time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's amazing because, you've written a lot of books in a short period of time. So you're quite brilliant that way. And you're giving people things that we need to better our lives, better our health. And there's nothing better than relationships are one of the most important things to keep us moving. It's part of the blue zones, our longevity. It's part of that. And
Debbie, what you do with the physical health, I tell guys, it's the same coin, different sides. Don't think it isn't.
Great way to put it. Absolutely. All interconnected, all of it.
Well, I work out my problems. I weightlift all the time. I go, okay, that's part of it, but don't think for a minute your body's going to solve your emotional issues.
No.
Because if you do, you're really going to be disappointed.
Right. Well, you're going to put all your energy right there. It's not going to, again, what I talked about at the top of the show, there's balance in everything.
Yeah.
You've got to find it. It's a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Stephan, again, I can't tell you enough. I bow to you. Thank you so much for your time and energy. Get a hold of Stephan. All of the information will be in the show notes on my YouTube channel. So make sure that you reach out to Stephan if any of this, hit for you, because I'm sure we all can find something in our spouse or in ourselves that hit the mark today. Thank you again. And my audience, I want to thank you. I'm here twice a month, the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. So join me. And in the meantime, keep going out and finding those conversations that connect to a healthier you. All right, everybody. See you in 2 weeks. Bye. Thank you, Stephan.